Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk, and welcome to the Week 15 of 2023 NFL season. That's right, we're nearing the end of NFL, and there's a lot of things still to determine who's number one seed in each conference, who wins the divisions, who is the unlucky soul to get the seventh playoff spot. NFC is a wild race, so is the AFC. So a lot of fun things happening on the field to kind of get us all excited. Kind of look at that. Which starting quarterback's going to go down? Seems to be the game right now within the game to find out who's going to be out. And first, we're going to go over some of the last week's games. Got a quick highlight and discuss one of the issues that happened in one of the games. I'm sure everyone's well aware of. And then we do go into next week's picks. And last week's games actually went 10-5, pretty good until I got to Monday night. Monday night was definitely something that I don't think anyone saw coming. And let's go ahead and kick things off on last Thursday over there in Steel City, where the Steelers playing host to the Patriots. Bailey Zappi got the starting nod for New England. Trubinsky was the starter for Pittsburgh. And Trubinsky looked like a third-string quarterback for the CFL. He was terrible. Zappi was performing very, very well, ended up throwing 3 touchdowns for 240 yards. And he was able to handle that defense, even though the defense has clapped things down that second half, because New England could not score anything else beyond, in that second half, but it was enough to hold on and beat Pittsburgh 21-18. Putting Tomlin's record of not having a losing season in jeopardy. Right now they're 7-6. In New England, completely out of the playoff hunt. Trying to see what happens with Bill Belichick at the end of the year. Then it transpired this Saturday, and we go over to Atlanta. This is where I thought the Falcons would take the edge in the NFC South. Of course, the NFC South is probably the worst division in football this season. And they just like beating each other up. So Atlanta tried to come back. Ritter tried to do something. Almost had 350 yards passing with a touchdown. But it wasn't not all. Oten hauls in an 11-yard scoring drive. With 31 seconds left, they put the Bucs on top, 29-25, to take the lead in the NASCAR division at 6-7. Then up to Windy City, where Detroit came to town to play Chicago. Now, this one I picked Chicago. If you saw my preview video, I picked the Bears because I said, look what they did with the Lions the last time they met a couple weeks ago. They had the Lions number. The Fields didn't have that one mistake towards the end of the game. The Bears could have won that one. You got to think, if they held on to Denver, they'll have 7 wins this year, or 6 prior to this one. Spoilers. But I picked the Bears. The Bears showed up. Justin Fields felt comfortable. He moved around, over 200 yards passing, a touchdown. He's not really lighting things up. And with Justin Fields, you don't have to. You have to make it where he's more comfortable running the offense, limiting the amount of time the opposing offense has on the field, which gives their defense more time to be aggressive, utilize their playmakers. And they were able to upend Detroit, even though Detroit had a 13-10 lead at half. Defense locked down Detroit that second half. No opportunities. Chicago ended up winning 28-13. Head to the jungles of Cincinnati. I said the Bengals. Browning looked really good in his debut. Did not disappoint. The Bengals look like they're not going to miss a beat right now with Jake Browning at the helm. So we'll see how this one continues, but they rolled the Colts 34-14. Over in Cleveland, the struggling Jaguars came to town. Flacco is now the quarterback in Cleveland. I mean, how many teams can this guy go to? And he stood up to this Jacksonville defense. Over 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. And a pick. He almost looked like Joe Flacco of old during his days in Baltimore. Cleveland was able to hold on and beat Jacksonville 31-27. Give me another victory. Then we head down to the Big Easy where the Panthers came to town. The Saints had no issues with that. Tamed the Panthers. Derek Carr had overcame some injuries, his rough starts for this game, but was able to beat Carolina 28-6, moving that three-way tie for the NFC South. Then we go to the Big Apple where the Jets play host to the Texans. On this one, I was a little uneasy because of the Jets' defense. And then Zach Wilson was thrown right back into the mix again. It seems to be a rotating door of which quarterback is going to be the Jets' starter because they go to one quarterback, he has one good game, then he goes back to normal. Goes back to being subpar, basically. And this is going to be a true test for the Texans, but I saw what they did against Baltimore. I figure, okay, they'll be able to withstand it. Their offense, I think, is better than the Jets. Not so much. Because Zach Wilson came to play. Over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. C.J. Stroud actually got knocked out late in the game with a concussion, as he couldn't get anything going. The first half was just a defense party of just shutting down everything for 0-0. But once Stroud was out, that was it. The floodgates open. The Jets ended up beating the Texans 30-6. We'll see what happens next week with the Jets and Texans. We head to Baltimore where the Rams came to town. And the Rams gave the Ravens a run for their money. Now, I didn't think it would be this close because I thought there's too many injuries right there with the Rams. Didn't think they'll be there, but they battled with Baltimore throughout. It was a punt return and overtime by Tylan Wallace that ended the game, and Baltimore escaped an upset bid by the Rams, 37-31 in OT. Head out to Vegas and the Snorfest that ensued. It took till the final seconds of the game before points were put on the score on the board. A game-winning field goal by Minnesota, 3-0. This was a baseball game. Twins taking on the Athletics. That's right. Remember, the Athletics are petitioned to move to Las Vegas. Then we head to Santa Clara, to be precise. So 49ers play host to the Seahawks in the key NFC West showdown. The Seahawks right now kind of struggling, trying to find their marks. Brock Purdy was Purdy. Over 360 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. McCaffrey, 145 yards on the ground. Deebo Samuel's almost 150 yards receiving. This offense, with all the pieces are in there, because you still have to worry about Ayuk, you still have to worry about George Kittle. There's a lot of things to worry about with this team, and then the defense, you have to worry about Bosa on the other side of the line. And of course, a recent acquisition for Washington as well. So this team is poised to make a deep run, if not a Super Bowl run. But they're able to withstand Seattle. They maintained scoring drives in each quarter, beat Seattle 28-16, to move to 10 wins of the season. Then we had to Kansas City. And there's a lot of things to talk about this one. The Bills came to town. Both teams are struggling right now. Both teams are what many would consider the elite of the AFC, but they're not playing it this year. A lot of issues, a lot of miscues with the Chiefs receivers and Patrick Mahomes right now. A lot of drops as well. Buffalo seems to have the same issue as well. Their defense tends to cough up the lead. There's been a lot of games where they go in and are leading, and the defense just coughs it up. So it is definitely one of those. Bills had a late lead in the fourth. Gameplay by the Chiefs was phenomenal. Mahomes threw to Kelsey, of course, and Kelsey allowed it to Toney, who ended up scoring. All got called back, doing a penalty. That's got everyone in the world upset. And I'll talk about this a little bit more after I go run down the rest of it. But I did pick Buffalo to win in Kansas City, and they did hold on and beat the Chiefs 20-17. At the SoFi, when the Chargers are playing host to the Broncos, I went the Broncos are going to return back to form. Definitely did. Russell Wilson over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Denver was able to maintain a lot of it. Herbert got injured as the Broncos edged the Chargers 24-7 to move in one game behind Kansas City in the AFC West. Sunday night, you had the Eagles come to town take on the Cowboys. The Eagles have been living dangerously for the past couple of weeks, but they've been beating the Bills, the Chiefs, Dolphins. Next on the list, Dallas. The previous matchup against the Cowboys, Cowboys should have won, but didn't. This time around, there was no mistakes, and a lot of the issues came from Philadelphia itself. They had a hard time hanging on to the football. When you turn it over, after especially making big plays that could set up scoring drives, you're going to lose. And Dallas was good enough to take advantage of those situations, and they definitely did. I mean, Prescott, over 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was just phenomenal in just picking apart, and Dallas routed Philadelphia 33-13. They pull even with Philadelphia in the NFC East. We'll see if this continues, because if it stands this towards the season, Philadelphia will still win the division. It'll be the first back-to-back division winners in 19 years. Then a doubleheader on Monday night, and I don't think anyone saw how these two games are going to go. Tennessee's defense came to play. They did not allow the track and field team of the Miami Dolphins to run rampant on them. DeAndre Hopkins looked like the young receiver old. Will Levis looks like he's the next quarterback of Tennessee, because he had over 300 yards passing. 1 touchdown. I went to DeAndre Hopkins, who had almost 125 yards receiving. The defense stepped up when they had to in the fourth quarter, and for a fourth down, sacked Tua, iced the game for Tennessee, winning 28-27. Then we head back over to New York, where the Giants might host the Packers, and everyone thought the Packers were going to run away with it, like I did. Jordan Love had over 200 yards passing. Tommy DeVito, he was just as effective as Jordan Love. Barkley was a key aspect for the Giants, as he had 2 rushing touchdowns. And Tommy DeVito was actually just doing what he had to do. He's able to make those drives and find the receivers that he had to get there, as he led a game-winning drive to set up a game-winning field goal. And the Giants beat the Packers 24-22, keeping the Giants in the playoff hunt. And, of course, with those 2 Monday night games, those are my 5 losses, and that's how I went 10-5. Now, let's circle back to the game in Kansas City, because I kind of touched upon that issue that's going there. Now, I mentioned that Mahomes threw to Kelsey. Kelsey ran for a bit, then lowered it back to Toney, who ended up scoring the winning touchdown that got called back for a penalty. The penalty is for offensive offsides, a penalty you never really receive. Toney had his foot had his toes over the line of scrimmage. He's staring right at the ball. And Mahomes was livid. Understandable. Because how many times have you heard offensive offsides? I think it's the first time I ever heard of it, and I've watched football for many, many years. So he was livid. He thought the refs took the game away from him. Now, there's been kind of a contentious mention about the refs throughout the season, but let's go back. Let's focus on this particular aspect. Was it a penalty? Yes. Question is, did he check with the ref? There's a video that someone claims he did, but he looked so quickly it turned back around after you set up. So he didn't really check with the ref because the ref then told him kind of scoot back. Then he took that step backwards and he'd been onside, and the game, the play would have stood, and the Chiefs would have had one of the greatest comebacks, the greatest play of the year. But that's the case. So a lot of heated exchanges, especially if you look at some of the former quarterbacks like Orlowski and RG3, who have a one particular take on that. Oh, this should have been a warning. It's always a warning. What's this? This is BS. Paraphrasing. The refs only give warnings. Because I think Richard Sherman kind of blasted back. It's like, do they get at the defensive ends when they line off offsides? They just give them warnings, but did they call a penalty? A penalty is a penalty, regardless which side of the ball it is, which position player it is. It's a penalty. He was offsides, plain simple. Now, if you actually looked at the ref after you set up, then look at the ref, and the ref didn't tell him anything, didn't throw a flag, okay, you might have a little case there. He didn't really do that. Alaska then brought it up later on that there was like 4 other occasions that he lined up the exact same way and never called. And that's being inconsistent. Also, we don't know if the refs actually told him, hey, watch where you line up. Hey, watch where you line up. Maybe they told him 4 other times. Take a step back. If you think you're on the line, you're not. If you see the ball clearly, you're not on the line properly. And then someone else on Twitter brought up Waddle did it in the game in Miami. It wasn't called. So inconsistent calling by the refs is an issue. We've seen this countless times. We've seen, I think the game, a couple of the penalties in the Kansas City Green Bay game where Mahomes got flown, a flag was thrown for a late hit on Patrick Mahomes when he was definitely in the field of play. There was actually a pass interference in the game. There was that call when the defender was right in the back of Toney. Or I'm sure it was Toney, but the Chiefs receiver wasn't called. You see that constantly where the refs will call a penalty on the minor things, but then when you see something major, they don't say anything. It's what people and coaches and players and fans get upset about. It's the inconsistency in terms of penalties being distributed. That, yes, I will agree with. Saying that Toney should have got a warning, no. That's not the ref's job to give him a warning. The ref's job is to enforce the rules. Toney needs to make sure he's in the right position and check with the ref after getting into position to see if he's correct. And the ref can definitely go yay or nay. But there was a lot of heated exchanges with that one, and Mahomes has actually, came back out and kind of apologized for his rhetoric. He said he definitely should have done that. I think I talked long enough about that one, and I don't want to take away too much of your time. Well, now it's time for what you really came here for. Week 15, preview and picks. Full slate of games, no more buys. We're actually going to have Saturday games as well. So let's kick things off on Thursday night when the Chargers go into town, take on the Raiders. With the injury to Herbert, that could really affect the outcome of this game. This is going to be an ugly matchup between these two. Right now the line has the Chargers favored by 3. I mean, defensive-wise, they should have no issues. It's the offense that has to get something going. You saw what they did with Minnesota. No offensive touchdowns, but offense can do anything going. It's one of the things I think Vegas will probably win have another low scoring game, and I will go with the Raiders as well. I like the 3 points. I think it's going to be another baseball game. Then Saturday, that's right. NFL is not playing the Saturday game since the college football regular season is over. NFL now moves in, sprinkled in with a bunch of college bowl games. All 3 games on Saturday will be on the NFL Network. We'll start off in the concrete or the jungles of Cincinnati. Concrete jungles, Philadelphia, by the way. So the city, Browning and the Bengals play host to the Vikings. Both teams are 7-6. Both have playoff aspirations. Only one looks like a playoff contender with a backup quarterback, and that's Jake Browning and the Bengals. He has 5 touchdowns with 2 picks so far in his 2 starts, but when you have Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that makes things a lot easier in taking on a team in Minnesota who has injury issues themselves. Josh Dobbs being now the actually he's not even the quarterback now, so there's a lot of issues right there in Minnesota. Bengals figure about 3.5. I'm not going to push back on that one either. I'll take Cincinnati. Then we had the Indianapolis, where Gardner Minshew and the Colts will play host to Trubisky and the Steelers. The Steelers need to win 2 more games to maintain Tomlin's winning streak. So how many winning seasons he has. Or non-losing seasons, let's put it that way. I'm taking on the Colts team that's just as bad, I'll probably say, or just as good, depending on your take on the issue. Also running with a backup quarterback. I like the Colts better in this matchup. I know Steelers defense will give them issues. There's no doubt about that, but Trubisky has taken like 20,000 steps behind when he used to be the starter in Chicago. And the Colts are favored by 2.5. I'm not going to put that into question either. I'm taking the Colts to win at home. Then the matinee game, the Denver Broncos will head to Detroit to take on the Lions. And this is a game I think the Lions need to win to get back in the winning ways and start dominating once again. Denver's one of these teams is looking to continue their impressive streak. They're all tied up, especially with the previous 2 teams at 7-6 to get in that last position. So we're going to go back and forth to see who's going to win this matchup. I think it's going to be very close. Right now the line is 4. I could say it's going to be lower than 4. I'm going with the under on that one. And I will also go with Detroit. I think Detroit's going to find a way to just squeak out a victory. Maybe like 2 points. I think it's going to be really, really close. I think it's going to be one of these drives. Once again, Russ is trying to make that drive, and Detroit's defense actually stops him. Now to Sunday, we'll go out to the lakefront of Lake Erie in Cleveland, play host to the Chicago Bears. And as much as I want to pick the Bears in this one, the Cleveland's defense is definitely a lot better than Detroit's. Myles Garrett's going to be a beast. It's going to be hard to kind of try to work around him unless you find ways to skirt Justin Fields away from him, but then you go in the hands of Clowney. So you have 2 defensive ends you have to try to worry about, try to establish anything. If you can try to survive that, you should probably have some success. I think Chicago will have some success. If Flacco can repeat what he did last week, or even a fraction, even if you have like a small letdown, maybe only do like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think that'll be enough for Cleveland to win. Right now, Cleveland's favored by 3. As much as I want to go Chicago, I'm going with the Browns. Battle of the Bays, Tampa and Green Bay go at it up there in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Jordan Love needs to get back on point. First year as a starter, there's going to be growing pains. Like I said, his receiving core is one of the youngest in the NFL. Tampa Bay, very inconsistent. They go up and down depending on which version of Baker Mayfield you get. For me, I think it's just going to be being at home. It's going to be too much. Green Bay is going to win this one. They're favored by 3.5. I like those odds. Pack. AFC South clash. We have the Houston Texans. The surprise Texans head to Nashville, take on the Titans. C.J. Stroud Could be gone for concussion protocol. Having a phenomenal rookie season. Over 3,600 yards passing, 20 touchdowns and 5 picks. Pretty darn good. But the Titans seem to find a good quarterback in Will Levis. Him and DeAndre Hopkins have really stepped up their connection, which I think is what he needs, is a good veteran receiver to kind of help him bounce it out. And with that, and the way the defense took on Miami last week, I'm going with the Titans. The Titans are right now favored by 2.5. I might go a little bit more because I don't think Stroud's going to be the quarterback of the Texans. So I'll probably go with the over on this one, but definitely Tennessee. Then the Jets will head to the South Beach to take on the Dolphins. And Tagovailoa and the Dolphins are looking to try to reassert themselves. Tyreek Hill definitely got injured last week. He had very limited play during that game. So I'm unsure about his availability for this game. I doubt Zach Wilson has the exact same performance he did last week. So I'm not expecting him to do another 300 yards passing game. You'll see him go back to Zach Wilson of old. Scratch your head like, what the heck is he doing? Right now, Miami's favored by 8. No. The Jets are going to play him tough, really tough. They're going to fall short at the end, but they will play him tough. They'll probably keep this about a 6-point range, but definitely go with the Dolphins. Then the Chiefs head to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. The Patriots had a huge game last week against Pittsburgh. Don't expect the same treatment with Kansas City. Now, if Mahomes and the Chiefs receivers can actually get together and be on the same page, and actually the receivers run the routes that they should run, or they could be in the same mind sync as Kelsey and Mahomes are, you have that one. Kansas City was hanging in with Buffalo. There's no question about that one. They've been hanging in with everyone. They just tend to have times where the receivers just either drop the ball or just run the wrong routes. But taking on the New England team that had a very good showing with Zappi at the helm, taking on Kansas City, so he should have some decent numbers. I would not be surprised if New England was actually leading at halftime and Kansas City comes back. But I'm still going with the Chiefs. I think that there's just too many things that said the Chiefs should be in there. And in fact, they're falling out. Probably won't be hosting an AFC title game, and I doubt they make it to the AFC title game this year. But I will go Kansas City winning in Foxborough. Right now the line's by 9. Sure. You have the G-Men head to the Big Easy to take on the Saints. And Derek Carr had a rough start last week, but then coming back and winning. DeVito showing poise, returning back to his home area of New York. He actually was a former quarterback at Rutgers before transferring to the Illini. And right now, the Lions has the Saints by 6. I'm taking Big Blue. I'm going with the Giants in this one. I just think if they can do what they did against Green Bay against the Saints, they should win no problems. I think they'll find ways to make the Cowboys games interesting, but with this game coming up, I think they have enough in them to make it interesting and definitely put a strain on the NFC South. But I think they go down to New Orleans and get a W. Then we head to Charlotte, where the Carolina Panthers play host to the Atlanta Falcons. And this is going to be one of these weird games as well. Right now, Atlanta's favored by 3. You have Ritter, who, I don't know, I think Atlanta's part of one of these cities is looking for a new quarterback as well. Bijan Robinson is just a phenomenal running back for him. Just not really hasn't hit 800 yards yet, and he only has 4 touchdowns, so I don't think they're using him right, or he's not able to garner big gains or enough gains to score it out and get a touchdown. Carolina's due for another victory. Here it is. Atlanta right now is favored by 3. I'm going to take Carolina to win at home, get their second and final victory of the season. I think having all 3 NFC South teams lose the exact same day is just going to be funny. It really is. But Panthers at home. The Panthers go Hollywood, take on the Rams. The way Rams play against Baltimore, it's going to be no question. Washington's had a week off, try to recuperate after getting beat up by Miami. Unfortunately, the Commanders going to get beat up by the Rams. The Rams looking to kind of reassert themselves into the race once again, and losing to Baltimore in overtime on a punt return stung them. I think they'll come out swinging, and I think they're going to go for a knockout punch to the Commanders. Rams. The 49ers, I have to Glendale, take on the Cardinals. I don't see much going this one. I think Cardinals will probably make it interesting in the beginning because you still have Kyler Murray's back, Connor's back, so they should put up some resistance. There's too many weapons on San Francisco. It's going to be much like the Seattle game. It's going to be slow, steady pace, and just doing what they have to do to make things right. It's 13.5 by the line right now in favor of the Niners. I think they kind of downplaying the Cardinals a bit. So I'll push back on that a little bit, but definitely going Niners to win. And an interesting showdown up there in Western New York as the Buffalo Bills play host to the Dallas Cowboys. Dealing with all that lakefront snow possibly coming in. It's going to be cold. I think they're looking at about 36 degrees by the time frame. So it's going to be a nice, chilly, windy scenario, and see how that plays into the factor of the Cowboys. Passing may become an issue. You'll probably see less passes by Dallas, and that takes away from their game plan a bit. They're more of a pass-happy than run-happy type of team. Pollard's not a bruising running back, so there could be some issues there. So we see how this one kind of plays out. Right now, Buffalo's favored by 2.5. I think taking the fact that the weather come into play and Buffalo winning in Kansas City has that momentum going. They need that momentum to keep going, to keep moving forward, to get themselves deep in that playoff picture. I'm going to Bills as well. I think it's going to be, right now the over-under right now is 50.5. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game just because of the weather. But I will go with the Bills winning at home. Sunday night, you got Baltimore heading down to Jacksonville. See Trevor Lawrence kind of rebounds against the Ravens. The Ravens just almost got beat up by the Rams, who have a very decent quarterback, decent receiving core, whatnot. You're going to take on a team that has a very good receiving core, very good running back, very good quarterback, very young defense. And they're going to look to try to rectify the situation they had last week in Cleveland. We'll see how this one plays out. Right now, the Lions, Baltimore by 3. I'm going with the Jags. I'm going a little opposite on this one just because I think Jacksonville's going to find ways to kind of find ways to make Trevor Lawrence and get him back in the rhythm of things. So things kind of off kilter a little bit. And I think that's part of the problems. So we'll see how this one kind of plays out. And then Monday night, Eagles will head up to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Seattle Seahawks and then home in the 12th man. It's going to be loud and ruckus up there in Lumen Field. Seattle's definitely going to make this a very, very, very tough game for them. Much like, the game with the 49ers. I think they'll find themselves a little outgunned. I would not look at the Hurts and Brown and Swift to have the case of Butterfingers in this game. That's something they're going to be harping on to about ball security, ball control. because if they didn't cough up those turnovers against the Cowboys, that would have been a different game last week. But they're looking to try to rectify the situation, get back control of the NFC East, because by the time for them to know the results of the Cowboys-Bills games, they know they'll be chasing the 49ers, because the 49ers whooped them earlier. So right now they're going to be playing number 2. But when this one, Philly's favored by 4, I think it's going to be lower than that one. I think it's going to be very, very close. Seattle's going to play them very tough. It's going to be, like I said, loud and ruckus, especially if Philadelphia starts coughing up the ball once again. I'm taking Philadelphia to win on the road in hostile territory to try to get back into the swing of things. And there you go. Those are my picks. I didn't stray too far. I actually won a lot of home teams, so I'm kind of wary about this one because you don't see a lot of home teams taking the win, because those other road teams I picked last week, and I did extremely well. So see, that one kind of plays off. But anyways, like I said, full slate of games. We're full slate for the rest of the season. Down the nitty gritty, you start seeing separation between the haves and have-nots. Seeing those in the middle of the pack, trying to find that last position. The race for divisions, especially the NFC South, going to be very, very tenacious, and try to find out who's going to actually come out on top of that one. But let me know down below what you think about my picks. Do you think I got anything completely wrong? What game are you looking forward to this weekend? I mean, Saturday, are you going to watch college bowl games, or are you going to NFL Network watch NFL? I know there's a lot of good ones. I think that Buffalo Dallas game is going to be good. The Monday night game, Sunday night game, are definitely some highlight ones, and one on Saturday night is going to be really good as well. But hey, once again, like I said, let me know down below. Once you're down there, you hit that thumbs up, especially like the times I provide you. It really helps promote this video out, to really help get this out to the ether, let everyone listen to my soothing voice talking complete nonsense about football. Also, if you like what I do, why don't you subscribe? I've checked my analytics. Over 90% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. I love you all for watching it. It really helps out to get this channel moving and keep going. It's a very young channel, trying to get the following to kind of continue on. And that doesn't cost you anything. In this holiday season, when you're spending money left, right, and center on a lot of things, you want to find a cheap deal. And subscribing to my channel is a cheap deal, because it costs you $0 to subscribe. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, click that bell icon, turn on notification, let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. Until next time, I'll see you on Chat Sports Talk.